Imagine walking into your bank, expecting a routine transaction, only to find yourself humiliated, racially profiled, and surrounded by police officers. This was the horrifying reality for Olivia Carter, a well-respected district attorney, when she visited a branch of National Trust Bank. What should have been a quick, uneventful visit turned into an ordeal she would never forget. Olivia entered the bank that day with a simple goal: to cash a check. It was an ordinary task, something she had done countless times before. But within minutes, the atmosphere changed. What should have taken only moments stretched into an agonizing and humiliating experience filled with baseless accusations and unwarranted suspicion. As we explore this shocking story, tell us where you're watching from in the comments below. And if you believe no one should have to endure this kind of discrimination, make sure to subscribe now. Olivia Carter wasn't just any customer. She was an accomplished district attorney, known for her integrity, intellect, and relentless pursuit of justice. She had built her career on fairness and holding even the most powerful individuals accountable. The last person anyone would expect to face blatant discrimination was her. On this particular afternoon, Olivia was on her lunch break when she stopped by the bank to cash a check. This wasn't just any check. It was a large settlement payment from a case she had recently closed. She waited patiently in line, her ID and check in hand, never expecting anything out of the ordinary. But as she stepped up to the counter and handed her documents to the teller, the atmosphere in the bank shifted. The young bank employee examined her ID for an uncomfortably long time, frowning slightly before glancing at the check. Then, without a word, he asked Olivia to wait and disappeared into the back. She stood there, puzzled, as minutes passed. Through the glass partition, she could see two employees in the back office whispering and occasionally glancing in her direction. Something was wrong. Finally, instead of the teller returning, the branch manager, a man named Gregory Mason, approached Olivia. His smile was stiff, his demeanor tense. Without offering any explanation, he began asking a series of pointed questions. "Where did you get this check?" he asked. "Why is it such a large amount? Can you prove it's legitimate?" Olivia, ever composed, calmly explained the settlement and even handed over her business card, which clearly identified her as a district attorney. But her words seemed to fall on deaf ears. Gregory's suspicion only deepened. He leaned in slightly, lowering his voice, but making sure it was still loud enough for others to hear. "You do understand we have strict policies to prevent fraud, right? This check doesn't look right." His voice carried across the bank, drawing the attention of other customers. Olivia's patience was wearing thin. She met his gaze and asked firmly, "What exactly about this check or my ID makes you think it's fraudulent? Is it the amount? My profession? Or is it simply because I'm standing here?" Silence filled the room. The other customers had stopped their conversations, sensing the growing tension. Gregory cleared his throat but didn't respond directly. Instead, he turned, picked up the phone, and called the police. Olivia knew exactly what was happening, and she was ready to face it head-on. Minutes later, two police officers entered the bank, their demeanor tense and aggressive. They approached Olivia as if she were already guilty, their hands hovering near their holsters. "Ma'am, we need you to step aside," one officer said, his tone curt. Olivia, who had worked alongside law enforcement for years, remained calm. "Step aside for what?" she asked. "This check is legitimate. My ID is legitimate. I have done nothing wrong." But the officers didn't seem interested in her explanation. One reached for her arm, attempting to pull her away from the counter. "Don't touch me," Olivia said firmly, pulling back. "I am not resisting. I am a district attorney, and I know my rights." She took a deep breath and addressed the officers directly. "Let me make myself clear. I am Olivia Carter, a district attorney. I know the law inside and out. What you're doing, attempting to detain me without cause, is illegal. Unless you have a valid reason to arrest me, I suggest you let me go." Her words hung in the air, causing a moment of hesitation. Gregory, still standing behind the counter, looked visibly nervous. He hadn't expected her to stand her ground so firmly, but the damage was done. Olivia had been humiliated, accused, and nearly detained. all because of baseless assumptions. What would you do if you were in Olivia's shoes? Would you have reacted differently? Let us know in the comments below, and subscribe now for more stories that matter. Olivia wasn't about to let this injustice go unanswered. The very next day, she took the first steps towards seeking justice. She filed a lawsuit against National Trust Bank, accusing the institution of racial discrimination, wrongful accusations, and emotional distress. This wasn't just about her. Olivia knew she wasn't the first person to experience this kind of treatment, and she likely wouldn't be the last. Her goal was clear: to expose the systemic bias embedded in the bank's policies and to hold those responsible accountable. Her legal team, a powerhouse of skilled attorneys who believed in her cause, wasted no time. They began uncovering troubling evidence, records showing that customers of color were disproportionately flagged for fraud checks, even when their documentation was flawless. Testimonies from other victims emerged, painting a grim picture of discrimination hidden behind corporate policies. One retired teacher recounted how she had been denied access to her own account simply because the teller doubted her identity. A small business owner described being accused of forging a check solely because of its high value. The courtroom became a stage for a powerful reckoning. When Olivia took the stand, her words left the room in silence. "This isn't just about me," she said, her voice steady but filled with conviction. "This is about every person who has been judged unfairly, humiliated, or denied their rights because of the color of their skin. It's about accountability, justice, and ensuring that no one else has to endure what I did. No one should be treated this way, no matter their race or status." One by one, other victims testified, each account reinforcing the undeniable truth. The bank's legal team tried to argue that this was an isolated mistake, but the overwhelming evidence made it impossible to ignore the pattern of discrimination. The trial was long and emotionally exhausting, but Olivia never wavered. She knew what was at stake, not just for herself, but for countless others. And in the end, the jury's decision was unanimous. National Trust Bank was found guilty of racial discrimination. Olivia was awarded millions in damages, but for her, the real victory was in sending a clear message: discrimination, no matter where it occurs, will not go unchallenged. How many more stories like this remain untold? How many people suffer in silence, believing they have no power to fight back? Olivia's story is a reminder that no matter how overwhelming the odds may seem, standing up for yourself and for others can lead to real, meaningful change. Have you ever experienced a situation like this, or know someone who has? Share your story below. Let's open this conversation and work together to make a difference. And if you found Olivia's journey inspiring, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on more stories that matter.